We got breaking news why the latest Tua update is actually worse than expected, and it's not because he's going to the IR. We explain right now. Presented by Anna Jean Levine Accident Attorneys. Dan Graziano with the official word. Take a look at this.
Tua Tagovailoa going on injured reserve, and then by rule will have to miss at least the next 4 games.
It is breaking news, and it is official. ESPN confirms not just out 4 games at minimum, but also can't return prior to Week 8. It could be longer, of course. Meanwhile, Dan Graziano on what this actually does. Take a listen.
This is to buy time. It's not an indication of a season-ending situation, but he will have to now miss at least 4 games. It eases the pressure on them and him in terms of questions about his timeline for return, gives him more time to consult with doctors, with neurologists, and get a sense of exactly where he stands in the wake of his latest concussion.
Well, that might be a bad thing for the Miami Dolphins and NFL fans. Adam Schefter proves it is official. Yes, not just have they put Tua on the IR, which means, again, missing 4 games at minimum, maybe more, could be forever, and can't come back prior to Week 8 anyway, but also signing Tyler Huntley from the Baltimore Ravens practice squad. Mike McDaniel commenting on that. Take a look, because people wondering, are they going to bring in a big quarterback? Remember, this is a cat who went to the Pro Bowl, who replaced Lamar Jackson, took that Ravens team to the playoffs, and should have won the playoff game, as a matter of fact. Quote, he's a guy that's a signal caller that a team can get behind, but I think it's more directly to back up Skyler. But then you always let competition play out when it's on the field. This is a depth move, he claims. So why is Tua to the IR possibly the actual worst case scenario? We explain as we continue to number 3. Presented by St. Lucie Battery and Tire. SLBT.com, home of honest, reliable service since 1970. Mina Kimes explaining why all this uncertainty, why this not knowing makes things very tricky. Take a look.
From Miami's perspective, that uncertainty kind of makes their decision a little trickier, because you're considering the quarterback position not only for this season, but maybe beyond.
So she's saying they can't decide what they're going to do if they're giving up on this year or not, and whether or not they're going to try to do something for the big picture long term. They can't, because they don't know. Here is Mina now on how Tua's money, which is substantial, makes a trade very difficult right now. Listen.
They are financially committed to Tua for a long time, so if you're considering like a serious upgrade, a trade, that is also hanging in the balance. So I don't really know where they go from here until they have a little more information as well.
So the contract terms we showed you, we take a look again, and here they are. The deal includes $167 million guaranteed for injury, 43 of which has been paid this year. But wait, take a look, because remember, if Tua is cleared to return to football, but says he doesn't want to play anymore, he gives up on. He just cancels $124 million that is guaranteed. If he's medically forced to retirement, he then, of course, has the right to collect the $124 million. So Mina explains why it's even more complicated not knowing what the situation is now. Look.
It's a significant amount of money, but there's so much that factors into that. Whether it's his determination, whether it's doctor's determination, when that determination is made is actually a really big part of this, because of the nature of his contract, the way those guarantees are structured. So I almost like it's just really,
a lot of gray area for the team.
It's really hard right now.
It's hard right now because they don't know, and you'd rather know. You'd rather know the doctors are not going to clear him, or they doesn't want to play. They are stuck in a bad spot. It's worst case scenario. But wait, quarterback trade rumors have begun anyway as we continue on. Presented by Twin Peaks, your UFC fight headquarters. Dan Orlovsky pointing out Bryce Young benched in Carolina, but listen to what he says about his future. Look it.
No, I think Bryce is done in Carolina, and I would encourage them, implore them just to trade him. You're not going back. You're not making this move unless you have, one, already decided as a group, as an organization, hey, we're moving on. Or you're going to lose your locker room if you keep playing them.
Carolina has decided it will not be Bryce Young, period. So he's got to go, he claims. So the internet goes crazy. So does Twitter, of course. And they say, hey, should the Dolphins trade for Bryce Young? Panthers benching Bryce, Tua, blah, blah, blah. I mean, everyone's going to ask that question, of course. Dan Orlovsky on where Bryce Young, he's heard, rumored, could actually be traded, possibly. Listen to this.
So, I think he's done in Carolina. I've seen it floated around, the Dolphins.
But we would have to know in Miami if, in fact, Tua can return. Remember, it doesn't even matter what Tua wants to do as much as it does what he's allowed to do. If he's not cleared, everything else is moot. Mike McDaniel, we showed you earlier what he said about Tyler Huntley coming in. They signed him officially. But let's listen to what he said, because it's not just what people say, it's how they say it. Do you believe Mike McDaniel? Listen to this.
I think this is more directly to back up Skyler, and then you always let competition play out when it's out on the field, but this is a depth move for sure.
Remember, Tyler Huntley's someone that brought that Baltimore Raven team to the playoff, and again, should have won that game. But hang on, another name being floated for the Miami Dolphins as we roll to number 1, presented by X Golf in West Palm Beach, now open, changing golf forever. X marks the spot. Find them on Instagram, X Golf WPB. WEEI in Boston. Boston Sports Radio has a very different quarterback in mind. Listen to this.
Mac Jones is an interesting one, because if you believe that he's smart and he comes from the same college scheme as Tua, and he's accurate, he has a weak arm, but he's accurate, right? Like, he kind of fits the Tua mold.
And they're not the only ones that think so. Take a look at this from NBC Sports in Boston, because Devin McCourty, the recently retired New England Patriot, now the broadcaster, he believes the Dolphins should trade the Jaguars to bring in Mac Jones. He believes he should. So does the rest of the internet. Look at this young man. He ties it all together for us. Stunna says Bryce Young or Mac Jones in Miami, he believes, and they would ball. So the question is on the board. Question, what is worst case scenario for the Dolphins? This is. Not knowing is. Being stuck in purgatory is. Because when you don't know Tua's future, you can't plan for this season, and you certainly can't plan for the future. You don't know. It's more important what Tua is allowed to do than it is what he wants to do. Because I don't care if Tua wants to play again. If the doctors won't clear him, none of that matters. Worst case scenario is where the Dolphins are right now, having to basically give up on this season, trying their best to work with what they've got till they know more. It's a tough spot for all involved, but going to the IR for at least 4 weeks and maybe more is actually worst case scenario. Hit like, hit subscribe, please comment on this video, watch all the others. And remember, while every day above ground is a good day, some are just more questionable than others. Second night to the bad guy. See you on Friday.